Those memories that felt different but were deeply engraved on their hearts once again surged into their respective minds. Memories of Timothy's heartlessness 4 years ago filled Anya's calm heart with hatred once again. She dug her nails into her palm. The sharp pain caused her to sober up a bit. She would never forgive Timothy, but she also did not want to provoke him. It was best that she and Timothy did not owe each other anything. In that instance, Anya's mind flooded with thoughts. After a pause, she calmly looked Timothy in the eyes, then just as quickly turned on her heels and walked through the bathroom door. Of course, the moment they looked at each other, Timothy had also found himself in complete shock. Anya had clearly changed. When she married him at the age of 20, there had been youthful fat on her cheeks. Now, her originally delicate facial features and light makeup became more and more moving. The most important thing was that Anya's entire aura had changed. If the Anya 4 years ago was a lily with crystal dewdrops, then the Anya today was a beautiful, soul-moving red rose. However, Anya's eyes filled with hatred made Timothy feel as if he had been stung. After all, from the beginning of their relationship until the end, it was he who had let her down. On that night 4 years ago, he had forced Anya to leave him, and when she left, she had not taken anything with her. During the past 4 years, Timothy had occasionally thought of Anya's silly face, and also thought of the figure of her cooking chicken noodle soup for him, her specialty. He also thought of that rainy night 4 years ago when lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. He had hurt her. This was unquestionably true. Sometimes, Timothy found himself thinking, if Anya had taken the high divorce compensation, would he be able to completely forget about her? In the next second, Anya turned around and left. Seeing Anya turn around and leave, Timothy suddenly took a step forward. "Timothy!" Melissa suddenly appeared beside him. She used her pale hand to grab his strong arm. Melissa noticed that something was wrong with him. Timothy's gaze had never stopped on another woman for more than 10 seconds. But this time, Melissa found that not only did Timothy watch the back of the retreating woman for a long time, his expression had deepened with a sediment she could not put her finger on. Melissa shifted her probing gaze to Anya, but only saw Anya's back as she left in a hurry. Melissa realized that the woman in question had a good figure and was dressed fashionably. If her view from the back was indicative of anything, it was that she was quite certainly attractive. As soon as Anya had signed the divorce papers 4 years ago and left Timothy, he had never been willing to talk about Anya. He had wiped away all traces of her, so Melissa had never seen a single picture of Anya before. Even if Anya were to stand in front of Melissa, she would not know her. However, even though Melissa did not know Anya, her eyes immediately darkened in jealousy. Melissa knew that he had always been very self-centered. Although there were many women who had seduced him, she wondered how this woman could so easily attract Timothy's attention. Melissa could not help but cough. She turned her head to look at Timothy's profile and pretended not to notice anything as she asked, "Baby, what's wrong?" "Nothing." Timothy quickly turned around and covered Melissa's hand that was holding his arm. He smiled gently. "Do you know that lady who was here just now?" Melissa looked at Timothy tentatively. He paused for a moment. Then he shook his head and said, "I don't know her." 5 years ago, Timothy and Anya had married. In order to not make Melissa sad, his wedding had not been publicized at all. The media knew nothing about it. Melissa had only ever heard Anya's name, but the two of them had never met before. Timothy did not intend to tell Melissa about this matter. He knew that she was a suspicious and sensitive person. Her health was not good to begin with. It would be even worse if she thought too much about this kind of situation. "Okay." She nodded obediently to him and did not continue to ask. However, her eyes still looked in the direction in which Anya had left. "Timothy, why don't you let me take mail back first?" This is, after all, Mr. Lynch's birthday banquet, and you cannot leave early. Heath took a step forward and suggested to him. But Melissa... I'm fine, Melissa patted Timothy's arm in an understanding manner. Otherwise, I'll bear with it for a while longer and return home after the banquet ends. Anyway, I can't let you leave early. It's not good to do that. But Mel, your condition is also not good. Heath was a little anxious. He took a step forward and advised the two of them. Just do as I suggested, Timothy. You stay here. I'll send Mel home to rest. Timothy thought for a while and finally nodded. This is the only way. He also did not want Melissa to be uncomfortable and push herself too hard. He touched her cheek and softly said, When you get home, get some good rest. Okay. She kissed Timothy's cheek and said, Apologize to Leslie for me. Melissa, Leslie knows. Don't worry. Okay. Then I'll go. She smiled sweetly at him. Her beautiful apricot eyes were filled with love. After he walked away, Melissa left with Heath's help. Heath helped Melissa into the back seat of the Rolls-Royce. He did not get into the driver's seat. Instead, he sat beside her. He did not bother to look around. He quickly put his arm around Melissa's shoulder and asked with concern, Mel, why do you suddenly have a stomachache? Do you feel better now? Quickly, let go of me. We are outside now and someone could see us. She shivered and pushed Heath's hand away from her shoulder. Is there anyone around? Heath turned and looked around. He saw that she had moved his hand aside without hesitation and explained in a disappointed voice. That won't do either. What if someone else saw you? The two of us will be finished. Melissa's originally pale face turned slightly red due to nervousness. Heath, you better be careful. Mel, do you know how hard it is for me to watch you so ill? Seeing that you were sick, I can't be the first one to take care of you. Do you know how sad that made me? For you? I have to pretend to be your cousin and watch you and Timothy together every day, but I can't do anything. I have worked so hard. Heath looked at Melissa's beautiful and sickly face. He intently grabbed Melissa's shoulder again. I have already said that we will never be together. I also told you that if you don't want to stay by my side, you can leave. Mel, you know I can't bear to part with you. Heath raised his eyes and frowned. Then shut up and quietly be my cousin, a manager at the Godot Group, and enjoy your peaceful life. Melissa stared at him and said coldly. Heath looked at her heartless expression and slowly lowered his head. She had been married to Timothy for 4 years. The entire time, he had been very sad to see Melissa and Timothy seemingly so in love with each other. Although he could have sex with her while Timothy was away on business trips, that little bit of hope dangled in front of him was not enough to withstand the pain he'd been suffering for 4 years. What exactly was he? Timothy and Melissa had only gotten to know each other when they were students in college, but he had been shielding her since she was young. He watched Melissa go to primary school, middle school, high school, and college. He had always followed her every footstep, watching over her and protecting her. But what about Timothy? What did he have besides money, power, and looks? What right did Timothy have to make Melissa suffer so much? Heath, can you not make things difficult for me? She saw his disappointed expression and her tone eased up a bit. She held his face with both hands and looked into his eyes and said, Heath, you promised to protect me for the rest of my life. No matter what I want, you will give it to me. Yes, I promised you, so I will definitely do it. Heath nodded to Melissa in pain. This was a woman he had loved from a young age. Even if she wanted him to die, he was still willing. So even if he saw her with another man, he would still continue to love her. At least he could look at her every day. Thinking of this, Heath's emotions slowly calmed down. He took a deep breath and forced a smile for her. Mel, I was too emotional just now. It's all right. Melissa gently shook her head at him and said with understanding, I know you were so expressive because you care about me. She reached out her hand to touch Heath's hair and said gently, My stomach hurts a little. Can you take me back to the villa? I will take you back to the villa to have a good rest. Heath quickly nodded. He got out of the back seat and sat in the driver's seat. Melissa sat in the back seat with a proud smile on her face. She looked at Heath with satisfaction as he anxiously turned the steering wheel into traffic and hurriedly attempted to get her back to the villa. This life was pretty good. Heath was willing to take care of her. The man she liked had money, power, and the ability to support her. What more was there for her to ask for? Melissa was very satisfied when she thought of Timothy's care for her. However, at this moment, the woman that had made Timothy lose his mind suddenly appeared in her mind. Although she could not recall what she looked like, the scene of her husband's longing stare was deeply engraved in Melissa's memory. Melissa made up her mind then and there that she would prevent anything from happening. That woman had already attracted Timothy's attention. In order to prevent her position from being shaken, the best way for her was to prevent that woman from appearing in front of him. Melissa thought for a while, then looked up and said to Heath, who was focusing on driving, Heath, do you remember the woman we just met in the bathroom? Which woman? Heath frowned. He never paid attention to other women because he only had eyes for Melissa. The woman who broke into the restroom when my stomach was hurting. Heath had some impression of what she said. I remember her. What's wrong? Help me deal with her. Since Timothy had a strange attitude towards her, I hope he never has the opportunity to see her again. At this moment, Melissa's beautiful face revealed a viciousness that did not match her usual temperament. She usually quietly dealt with the women who tried to get close to Timothy. This woman, who attracted his attention, should not have been an exception. Mel, aren't you being too zealous? Heath looked at her beautiful face through the rearview mirror and thought sadly, Mel, is Timothy that important to you? Heath, you just told me that you will do whatever I ask you to do. Melissa saw his unwilling attitude and immediately suppressed her anger and pretended to be sad. Were you lying to me? When he heard her disappointed voice, he immediately became anxious. Mel, why would I lie to you? I would do anything for you. Then please help me again, okay? Help me chase that woman out of Harburton. Heath sighed deeply and nodded. He said, Okay, after I get you to the manor, I will do so immediately. Tell me your plan first. Melissa was worried about being caught, so she had to make sure everything was ironclad. Heath pursed his lips and said helplessly, I will investigate the company where that woman is and inform her superior that Timothy Godot asked that woman to leave. She nodded in relief. Thank you, Heath. Heath did not answer anything, but just replied with a sigh. At the banquet of Leslie's company, after Timothy had chased away a group of bosses who wanted to get close to him, he sat alone in the corner and quietly drank. He stared blankly at the people who came and went, and was very worried about Melissa's physical condition. At the same time, Timothy was also replaying the scene of him meeting Anya in the restroom. It had been 4 years. On that rainy night, he had hurt Anya under the influence of anger, lust, and alcohol. And from that day onwards, he had not seen Anya again. Timothy had been using her from the beginning of their marriage. However, he gradually realized that no matter how coldly he treated Anya, she would always look at him with a bright smile and act calmly. Thinking back to when he placed the divorce agreement in front of her, he knew he would never forget Anya's desperate expression. Timothy also could not forget the guilt that surged in his heart when he returned to the villa and found the signed agreement and the check still lying where he had left it. 4 years later, Anya had become a stranger who hated him. Then they would be strangers from now on. When Timothy made this decision, he felt a slight sense of loss in his heart. He did not know if it was because he missed Anya or because of his guilt towards her. "Tim, what are you thinking about?" Leslie asked. He was wearing a pink casual suit and holding a light blue cocktail in his hand as he walked toward Timothy.